I've got one flame to burn, one race that I can say I ran.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 21047.com podcast. My name is Keith Cartwright. I am the host of this show, and I am really glad to have you listening in today, wherever it is that you're listening, and whenever it is that you might be listening in. Today's episode is sponsored by my friend Kimberly Caldwell. Kimberly has sponsored this show and 21047 for quite a while now, so I'm really appreciative of Kimberly and all the encouragement and support she brings to everything I try to do here. She sponsors me through Patreon. Patreon is a platform where you can go and support folks financially like myself who are trying to do creative things like the 21047.com podcast and the website and the writing and everything that goes along with trying to use this running journey of mine to share some light in some places that might need it. And so folks like Kimberly who come to bat and support me in that way makes it just a lot more possible to do bigger things, dream bigger, and I'm just really grateful for that. If you want to learn more about how you could support these efforts, you can go to my website, 21047.com, TWOTIM47.com. At the top of the page, just click on the Support Me tab, and then you'll go to a page that will tell you a lot more about supporting this, including how you can support through Patreon. So to Kimberly, thank you, and to all my Patreon supporters, thank you, and to everybody just listening. Everybody is a supporter who is listening right now, so I am really grateful for that. Today's episode, where it's really been a theme here, I guess the last couple of interviews, this running journey obviously is a lot about running and the physical part of that and the physical accomplishments, both mine and other folks I talk to. You know, we talk about guys that have run 52 marathons in every state in a year, 7 different continents in 1 week, just all sorts of incredible journeys we've talked about lately. But this week and last week, we really are focused on sort of the spirit of the running community. I hope you listened to my last episode. I interviewed Laura Baumgartner, who is heading up the Run for Respect. She's a special needs teacher in Illinois, and so her and her students every year, this is the 6th year, they've put on the annual Run for Respect, their attempt to spread the word, to end the word. They're trying to end the word retarded, replace it with the word respect. And she's really drawn in this virtual running community and a lot of support from the Megs Miles running group that I belong to, and many folks who are listening to this belong to. And so they've really come to bat to help support Laura's efforts. I actually got to meet her in person in Chicago last year when I was up there to represent Megs Miles at a Facebook summit. So it was just a kind of crazy connection that she was able to come and bring some of her students, and we got to meet there in person. But just the spirit of this running community that we talk about a lot, but just, you know, I think back to Houston where we got to meet Father Jim and partner with St. Andrew's Church down there to do hurricane relief. It just seems like those sort of things always pop up in this running journey. A couple of years ago, I know when the Syrian refugee crisis was going on, it still is, but back then it was sort of in the news, and, you know, this running community, Megs Miles, we got to participate in a shoe drive, and, you know, to see some pictures of shoes we gathered end up on the feet of some young refugees over in Greece was just this, again, this powerful reminder that this journey that certainly I'm on and folks listening to this show are on is about so much more than running. There are just some connections that are happening through this running community that are life-changing. They are life-saving in many cases. And, you know, today we're going to talk about one of those life-saving situations. My friend Brooke Griesby and Heidi Griesby, a beautiful couple. Brooke was having some kidney struggles that we're going to talk about in the interview today, and he ultimately needed a kidney. And so his wife, Heidi, who's been a long-time member of this Meg's Miles Facebook group and an active supporter of a lot of people in there. You know, she took a risk and put out there, you know, my husband needs a kidney. And a lot of folks in this running community responded, and one of them, Brandy Bean, responded and turns out was a perfect match to donate her kidney. And their story is remarkable. I know when I first heard this, you just shake your head, because going back to Meg Cross Menzies, who was hit and killed by a drunk driver going on 5 years ago now, a little over 4 years ago, I guess now. Her story has just blown up in so many parts of this running community. And it's not because she was a great runner, even though she was a great runner, but it's her faith that really continues to live on, to continue to shine on. It's that peace that a lot of people migrate to, and it's her goodness, her legacy that continues to run through these connections that we talk about, and certainly it's at the heart of this connection we're going to talk about today. Folks who love God stepping up in service because of that love for God and donating a kidney to save somebody's life. I mean, it just doesn't get any more unbelievable than that, unless, of course, you lean on God like Brandy Bean does, and then, as you'll hear in her voice, it just became a matter of, where do I sign up? What do I have to do? So I hope you will be moved by this interview. I was moved in my conversation with them. Again, just understanding the magnitude of what we were talking about. It seems so simple. We're just talking about a kidney donation, but when you think of the unlikelihood of this connection ever being made, when you think of just what a huge sacrifice it was for somebody to step up and do that, it gets a bit overwhelming. So I hope you'll be inspired by all of them and this entire story. And, you know, just thank you for being a part of this running community that fosters this sort of love, this sort of giving, this sort of selflessness. Runners, I don't know that they get enough credit for their spirit. I think we honor a lot of running accomplishments and milestones, and we celebrate them as we should. The medals are such a big piece, and we all hang those medals and celebrate them. But I think often overlooked are just these beautiful stories that come in the relationships runners form with one another and the way they look out for one another. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to my conversation with Brandy Bean and the Griesby family, and I'll be back on the other side. Thanks. I want to welcome you all to the 21047.com podcast, so welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to start with Brooke, if you would just walk us a little bit to the point in time where you kind of had this need for somebody's kidney. Talk to us a little bit about the health path that led there.
Well, actually, I didn't really know I needed a kidney or if there was really anything wrong with me. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me. They said, well, it's just a problem with my head, I guess, for migraines. And they kept on prescribing Percocet, Vicodin, Nordiol, just for headaches, like migraines. And they never thought about doing, like, looking at my nose or anything else. So they said it had nothing to do with anything except for up there. It's quite maddening.
How did they eventually figure out then that this was kidney related?
It was actually after some blood work at a hospital, when the hospital said, hey, there's something wrong with your kidneys, and you need to go see a kidney doctor ASAP. And no, I'm sorry.
He had a deviated septum for several years, and it was causing severe migraines on a daily basis. And I had it as well. And the doctor, when we kept going, especially I was constantly going, and they wouldn't do anything. They just wanted to prescribe stuff and pretty much tell you, oh, it's stress headaches, it's allergies. And finally, I insisted on going to an ENT doctor. And when I did go, he said I had a deviated septum, but he wanted to do a CT scan. It came back that I did have one, went for surgery, Instantly after surgery, my migraines stopped, and I was getting the daily migraines as well. And I told him, we need to get yours checked out and see if that'll fix the headaches. And we got his checked out, and he had one as well. Plus, on top of it, he had sinus infection that had been in there for so long. And
we removed the bone.
Yeah, they fixed his septum, removed the bone. No more headaches, no more pills that he has to take. Mm-hmm. But because of all the years of taking all the pain meds, rather than the doctors actually try to find what the problem really was, they just wanted to mask it, and the pain meds messed up his kidneys. And one of the times that he went to the ER, that's when they told him, with blood work, that you need to go see a kidney doctor right away.
Yeah. And then how soon after starting to see the kidney doctor did they realize you were going to need a transplant?
Off the bat.
Instantly.
Right off the bat. When I first time I saw him, I was in stage 5 already. And I had no clue I was in stage 5. Wow. Kidney disease is really a silent killer. It's the top silent killer in pretty much in the world from the studies. But all studies say different things. Better, worse killers, but it's the silent killer, and there's no way to really track it until it's too late.
There's barely any warning signs.
And so then you're in this position, you're needing a transplant, and so we've got Brandy Bean on here who ended up giving you a kidney. How on earth did you two connect then? How, Brandy, did you become aware of this need, and how did that all come about?
So we're part of Meg's Miles, and I believe it was either Heidi or Brooke posted something on Facebook about if you wanted to see if you were a match, you can call Mayo Clinic and see if you're a match. And my mother saw it first, and she called me one day and she said, "Hey, I'm on the road traveling. Can you call Mayo Clinic and see if I'm a match?" Because I know all of her information. So I said, well, okay. So I call and they're like, "Oh, you just do this survey." So I was like, well, I'll just do this survey for me, and then my mom can do it for herself. So I did it for me, and they called me instantly, and they're like, "Hey, so you're, O positive, so you are a blood match, but we need to do these other tests." So I said, okay. And then that just started the journey from there. They actually told me, and I don't know, Brooke, if you know this, but they called me a couple weeks later and they said, "Hey, we actually have a match that matched before you to Brooke. So do you mind being a backup?" And I said, well, no, but if there's somebody that needs my kidney now, then let's just do this now. I don't want to just wait if I can help save somebody's life. They're like, well, if we take you off of Brooke's case, then you can't get back onto his case if, for whatever reason, the other donor becomes not a match. So I said, oh, well, I don't want that to happen, so I'll just wait. So then 3 weeks later, I get a call, said, "Hey, so that other donor fell through. Are you still interested?" I said, absolutely. And then a week later, I started all the intense testing, and now I see where somebody could have not been a match because they literally check you from head to toe. Which is cool. I know that, I don't have any major things wrong with me, which is nice to know. But yeah, so that was kind of my journey of finding out that Brooke needed a kidney.
So for most people listening know that Meg's Miles is this running group. So that's just this incredible group of runners that is more like family most days. This is a perfect example of kind of what family does.
We met 4 years ago in Vegas at the half marathon, the Rock and Roll Half Marathon. We met for the very first time there, and then we haven't seen each other since then. I think you guys have seen my mom, but I haven't seen you guys, I don't think, since Vegas.
And we all live in the same state.
Right.
Which is crazy.
But you all ran the Vegas half marathon then?
I kind of ran it, walked it.
It's a log.
Yeah.
Brandy, I'm curious, before this came up, was this something that was ever like on your radar? Had you ever like given thought that maybe someday I'd want to be a kidney donor? Or was this really just a matter of you heard about this, you thought, okay, maybe, and then it just took off from there?
So it hasn't necessarily been on my radar. I'm a very serving person, so I did just over 7 years in the military. That's just my thing, is I always want to help and I want to fix and I want to do whatever I can to make other people's lives better. That's just kind of been my thing. So this wasn't something that I'm like, oh, I'm going to find somebody to donate my organ to, but it came up and the opportunity presented itself. So, I jumped right on it. But no, if you had told me a year ago that, in a year you're going to have one less kidney, I probably would laugh at you and say, okay, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Well, and I even go back to 4 years earlier. It just amazes me now that that's kind of when I started running, was about 4 years ago. And there's just been so many things I look back and say, holy cow, if we could have seen this coming. It just seems so improbable that some of these things happen through running. So Brooke and Heidi, when you guys became aware that Brandy was going to serve you all in this way, what was sort of your reaction?
Me, I actually started just kind of tearing up a lot, and for the longest time, honestly, I was, not contemplating, kind of thinking that it's over, it's done. Even with everything, it's like, you know what? It's time for me to end it all. I was going to handle it. And then when she said, yeah, and it kind of turned everything for the better.
Yeah.
It was real like godsend. So it's pretty cool.
And Heidi, I know, is, being a wife and watching your husband go through that, what did that mean to you then when you heard this from Brandy?
Overwhelmed. I too many ways to describe it. I mean, I was so thankful and grateful, because it was one of those things when I put the message out there on Facebook, really didn't think anyone would care enough.
So to chime in, Mayo Clinic, and they can't give a lot of information out, but they said when I won my very first appointment, they asked how we met, and I told them through the running group, and they're like, well, it must be a very powerful running group. And I was like, well, why do you say that? Like, I haven't really said much about it. And they said that they've never had so many people call in to see if they were a match before for one person. So it reached a lot of people, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really, I was hopeful and praying, but, you just never really know, and I didn't want to get my hopes up or get his hopes up, so I figured, Mayo said try any avenue, and just see, so I figured, this is the best time for me to get gutsy and just attempt something, so, I felt a little kind of awkward putting a post saying, hey, I need an organ, but figured may as well give it an attempt, and I was definitely very grateful for as many people as did, respond to it, and, just especially most of them have been just the running community, and it's insane how many, were through Meg's Miles, and my heart just goes out to all of you guys for it.
Yeah. No, as soon as I heard this, and you all are very familiar with the kind of person Meg was and the story behind her faith, her life of service, which is really the legacy that's lived on. You all are active in that group. More often than running, people are talking about lifting each other up, giving to one another. I'm curious what you all think, because you are runners, you've been active runners. What do you think it is about the running community that sort of fosters that sort of outlook towards one another, that sense of giving?
I'd say endorphins. We have good endorphins, and, I think it's just a positive running. I was never a runner. I ran in the military, but I was never an active runner in races and stuff until my mom joined Meg's Miles, actually. And seeing the positivity that came from her joining just by her having that like renowned self-confidence and saying, hey, I can actually do something, and you have all these people that you've never met before support you. I think it's awesome. And obviously it's my first running community that I've been a part of, but Meg Smile sets the bar very high. So I don't know about other running communities, but I know ours is wonderful. And because we have that faith-based foundation, I think that helps as well. But I don't know if you guys have been in other running groups that's the same.
Yeah, I think the one thing is that I'm a cyclist, and she started making me run.
Yep.
It was a deal that we would do cycling events together as much as we do running events.
I'm curious with both of you, after the recovery, running impacted at all, or imagine Brooke, you're a little slower getting back into it. But what is the long-term sort of prognosis for both of you in terms of exercise and getting back after it?
Go ahead, Brooke.
Oh, ladies first.
All right. So, well, I'll let you guys know after this weekend. I actually leave tomorrow for Ragnar. So it'll be the first time I've ran since the surgery. I'm a little nervous because I ran to my car the other day and was very sore. So a little nervous for this weekend, but even if I have to walk in, I'm going to complete it. So for me, there's not much difference. I have to be very careful of staying hydrated now that I only have one kidney. So, I mean, just being mindful of what I'm putting in my body and making sure that I'm staying active is the key. So I've been very good at keeping it low key since the surgery. So I'm excited to get back into it. I have a very full running schedule this year. Thanks to my mother. Don't tell her I said that. I'm totally excited for it. I did get selected for Marine Corps Marathon. I don't know if you guys saw that. Super
yes,
fun.
I did. I look forward to that. I will be there.
So?
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So this was my first full marathon. So we'll see how that goes.
That's going to be great.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, honestly, there's not much difference. I just have to be mindful. The only thing I'm a little nervous about that they told me I have to be careful with is I play hockey. So that is something that I haven't gotten the guts to get back into, just because if I do get hit in my kidney, I only have one. So, so that one is probably going to be the only changer, I guess, in my active level.
That might be your mom's motivation in getting you more running events, keeping you away from the hockey rink.
Yes. I know, but I've been playing hockey since I was like 7. So that's kind of that's my sport. Running's not my sport, but hockey's my sport. So I have to figure something out to balance that. But it'll all be good.
Brooke, how about you, buddy? What's it look like with the cycling and the running going forward?
Actually, what the doctor told me is I'm going to be faster than I ever have been, because I don't have any limitations at this point for running and cycling, because my kidneys were bad for such a long time that basically the water weight and everything else that's off me now, I'll have more energy, more power than before. So I'm really looking forward to see how many PRs I can do and how many times I can just ditch her and ow.
I'm curious with all of you, the running, one of the other things the running community is powerful in is that they, start running for different causes. They start running to promote different efforts. I'm curious if either or any of you are looking to promote kidney donation through your running.
Actually, I am. I'm actually working on it. We have one run right now. It's actually this shirt right here. It's kidney disease awareness, and it's a T-Rex run for the kidney awareness. That's what the T-Rex run is actually for. And that's when I get in a big T-Rex, and I will actually go and run with the rest of the groups. And the first one we had, I think there was 7 T-Rexes running, so it was actually pretty cool.
I don't have any races lined up for it, but I am supporting all my t-shirts at Ragnar this week. So each leg, we do 3 legs in Ragnar, and I have 3 like living donor t-shirts, thanks to Heidi. And I will be wearing one each leg. So I am supporting, and I found I started doing research, and there's a lot of people out there that post like, oh, I need a kidney and stuff like that, and I share with them the story that it is possible to get a donor via Facebook. So hopefully, with our story, it will inspire others to donate. I met a girl actually at the St. Patty's Day walk that I did. I wore my donor shirt, and this lady's like, oh, I donated my liver. And we had this big old conversation about it. And then all these other people chimed in. It was really cool. So I think just advertising that, hey, you're going to survive if you're a living donor, I think is a cool thing. So, I just want to get this story out there as much as we can to hopefully save somebody else's life.
What would you say to people, Brandy? Because that's, that's a big undertaking, right? When you just decide I want to donate a kidney, obviously a lot of hesitation might come with that. What would you say to folks that are worried about, 1, living with one kidney, 2, the process itself? I mean, obviously you underwent a medical procedure to have it removed. Mm-hmm. There's a surgery that goes with that, a recovery that goes with that. Coming from a guy who's kind of squeamish, even being in a hospital, those are things I'd say, boy, that would make me nervous. What would you say to people that have those natural sort of hesitations?
So that's actually a kind of hard answer for me to give, only because I didn't have any hesitations. Even day of surgery, I wasn't nervous at all. So to me, I believe in God, and that's kind of where I put my faith in this whole situation. Honestly, the very first appointment I had was with a psychologist, and the very first question he asked me said, okay, so you're a single mom. What happens in 10 years when your daughter needs a kidney and you don't have one to give? And that was probably the only time during the whole thing that made me hesitate. And I just took a deep breath and I said, well, I'm not a guaranteed match for her, and I believe in God. So, if God wants me to give my kidney, then he's going to make that possible. And with all the tests that you undergo, I mean, it was months and months and months of testing. And I would be at Mayo Clinic for 8 hours a day, and it was tons of testing that I knew that they were going to make the very best decision. And if any little, hesitation on their part, they would tell me. And then obviously that may change my judgment on it. But I trusted the medical team, and I said, I'm going to put my kidney in your hands, and you tell me if that's the best choice that I have. And so to me, there wasn't any questions. I had a kind of a rough recovery period. So that kind of sucked. But other than that, I mean, you overcome it, and it's such a good thing. And the fact that Brooke is doing really, really well. I think at one point his numbers were better than mine. So that's just awesome. And we have fun with it now. And, just being able to change a whole family's life, that's just a really cool and honor to be able to do. And so I'm just blessed that I had the opportunity to do that. And I, would hope that if anybody else had that opportunity, they would take it. But I know not everybody is that person, I've learned. So, because to me, people thank me, and to me, it was really hard the day actually after surgery. We were in the hospital, and everybody's like, "Oh, thank you so much for doing that." And to me, I'm like, "You don't have to thank me. Wouldn't anybody do this?" And my mom's like, "No, not anybody would do that." And so it just kind of was baffling to me to see how thankful people were, and so it was really humbling, the whole experience.
I've had sort of this motto this year. I've just seen it working out so well for me, and I've just been telling a lot of people, just take a step in faith. Just take that step and just let God do the rest, right? There's just no guarantee. So this whole faith story, Heidi talked about how hard it kind of was to put it out there, even on Facebook, there were a lot of worries, what people think and what's going to happen if I do that. But she took that step, which led to you taking that step, and then beautifully God has said, let me show you what I will do with all of this.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's rooted in this running group, that at the core of it is this woman who did a lot of, I'll never forget when soon after Meg died, somebody had said the most beautiful thing about her was that she embraced living a life of sacrifice. And I think that group leans on each other in a sacrificial way a lot of times. Brooke, what would you say to folks if they're thinking about donating a kidney? Obviously, you've got a very unique position in receiving one, saving your life. What does it mean when somebody says, "Here, I'll give you one"?
I mean, it's something that her mom actually said to us, that she gained 4 more people into her family. And this is a way of, I've heard of grafting families together, but honestly, this was a nice graft together.
But I think that is a unique piece too, in that you all already knew each other, so there was already sort of a bond there, and this clearly only served to make that a stronger bond, to the point where you talk about family now.
Yeah, and all the stuff that's happened to Brandy, and just getting the Arizona and everything else, and all the trials and tribulations the poor things had. It's, from trailers going missing and everything else, for her to have this, to be this positive still and wanting to give is just remarkable.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
You're so sweet.
Well, I would say, sitting here getting to see y'all, Brandy does. She just has this face of smiling, confident, and when she said that, I didn't think twice about it. Sitting here looking at her, I don't doubt her. Some people might say that because it sounds like the right thing to say, but I don't get that from Brandy. So, Heidi, what do you think it means to you in terms of keeping a family together? What would you say to somebody thinking about donating an organ?
It's a scary thing, but at the same time, you're helping, someone be able to live a lot longer. The, alternative is dialysis, and dialysis is such a hard way to live. There's 2 options of it, the hemo or the PD, and both are just, they'll help and they'll get you through, however many years you may need it for, but it's no guarantee it's going to keep you alive.
It's not a good way to live.
It's hard, and to be able to take that away and then give somebody the kidney and allow them to actually continue living their life pretty much back to normal, it's a huge blessing, and you'll feel so much better and be at peace, doing it. I feel. I can't say for sure because, obviously I haven't done it, but, on this end, I'm so grateful to Brandy with the kids seeing, what Daddy's been going through and stuff. And
they've calmed down a lot.
Yeah,
They've
things are a lot better now, but they both were just trying to be so strong during the whole thing, and it wasn't easy.
What a beautiful lesson for the kids too, right? I mean, as young kids, to get to see the true meaning of sacrificial giving in a way that just brings something so important to the family. I imagine that had a huge impact on them.
I'm grateful for this in the sense that they've been able to see, what life is about, and that you got to take care of your body, be careful what you put into it, and, at the same time that there are still good people out there, and to just try to stay positive and faithful and, hang on to your faith and not give up.
If somebody was interested then in getting more information about, because I'm sure there's You don't have to wait around. I'm sure there's folks that if they wanted to check and see right now to donate an organ, what's the best place for them to get information to do something like that?
I would say Mayo Clinic can help walk them through it. If they, even if they don't want to be like a living donor, if they still want to just at least be on the donor list, they could at least register to be a donor, in the event of an accident or anything, Yeah. So if they go to donatelife.net, that's one way. But I would suggest contacting Mayo Clinic and getting more information probably through them.
That would be the best bet, going through Mayo, because there's lots of different hospitals that do kidney transplants and so on, but hands down, Mayo would be the best way to go for kidney transplants. And I've heard stories from other kidney patients that they've had it at different hospitals and just the troubles they've been having. And I'm just really lucky that I got it with Mayo, because they really take care of you. Kind of scared me after 3 days in the hospital, but they got me.
You look great. You look great with all the strings off of you. You look good, buddy. Well, hey, you all, I am really grateful. Brandy, have a good time this weekend. I know most of the women you'll be running with out there, so that's a big group of some great women you're going to run with.
We've been having fun. We've been doing the Facebook Live videos in our little Facebook group that we have, and there was one day, and it was right after the surgery, and I was like on pain medication, was not feeling great, and my mom did a Facebook Live video because she was staying with me, and they thought that was the best thing in the world, and I'm like, I don't even remember doing that video.
You were their entertainment.
I was their entertainment, yeah, so it should be interesting.
Now, how many legs will you run this weekend?
3.
For a total of how many?
I think it's like 12.7 miles, so under a half marathon, which is probably good. But my competitiveness, last year when I did this race, I ran like 27 miles. Yeah. So I'm like trying not to get frustrated that I have the least amount of miles, because clearly my body probably couldn't handle more than that. So I'm just going to be grateful for what I have, and I'm going to do the best that I can. And I already told them that if I don't feel good, I'm going to not run my legs, and my mom will run my legs for me. So I'm going to be very, very responsible about it and just have a good time and take it easy.
Lots of water.
Really.
Water.
Lots of water.
Lots of water.
Actually, I thought about, we have here, I don't know if you guys have it here at Keith, but we have, they call them AZ IV medics, and they'll come to your house and give you an IV. And before I had the surgery, I got the flu, and so they came out here, and I was telling them I was donating my kidney, and she's like, oh, well, before your race, just call us, and I'll come out here and give you a bag of fluids before you go. So I'm kind of thinking about doing that.
That would actually be the best thing, to get you hydrated.
That way I have the extra fluid in me, and so that way I don't have to worry. But I've been drinking water, coconut water, like it's going out of business. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'll definitely be following all of you this weekend. There's a lot of friends in there. I am really excited about being on the course with your first marathon in October.
So
that is...
I told my mom when I found out, I was like, oh, I'll do it with my boots and my camis on, because that's just what you should do. And my mom, after a day, she was like, so I was thinking about that. And she's like, this is going to be your first marathon. You probably shouldn't wear that. And I'm like, but, I just want to, show my respect. That's my brothers and sisters that we're running for, you know? And so I haven't quite convinced her of it, but we'll see.
I was there spectating last year. I will assure you, there were a lot of people showing respect for their brothers and sisters in regular running attire. So,
yeah, I probably won't. She said it was really hot last year, so if it's really hot, I probably should be in.
It was warm. Yeah.
Yeah, shorts.
Well, thank you for your service too, Brandy.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You clearly have a servant's heart. So God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to make up for my sisters. So.
Yeah, good. And Brooke and Heidi, you got big running, biking plans, or just easing back into it?
Oh no! Thanks to Miss Brandy and Heidi and everyone else, I guess we're doing Santa to the Sea and possibly Richmond.
Yeah.
I know we're doing
We're doing
a lot.
a hot chocolate in December, Standard to the Sea half in December, and then the Encinita half at the end of March. But we're kind of on the fence about if we're gonna do Richmond. So
It sounds fun, but
it
we gotta see.
well, he'd probably just do the half or the 8K, but we're kind of like leaving it in God's hands right now on if we do it or not. So.
Well, I will be praying that you all somehow come to Richmond. It would be awesome
We would
to
love
have
to.
you.
I mean, it'd be our first time, and the course looks gorgeous, and it would be honestly amazing just to be able to meet all of you in person that we haven't met or that he hasn't still yet
Yeah.
met. I at least met some of you guys, at Run the Bluegrass a few years back, but he still hasn't met that many, and I think with everything going on, with the whole kidney transplant and all this coming about with Meg,
I think
Pamela's really in there too.
I think it would be
say hi to everyone. So
it would be a beautiful
Pamela, definitely.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful for folks to see in person sort of this spirit literally living out in somebody else. It's been very powerful. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I know you all have things to do, but, again, I'm really appreciative for the time. Your faith is such just a beautiful example. So I'm grateful that you took the time to share the story, and I hope that it goes on to impact other lives beyond just this family right here. So bless you all.
Yeah, thank you so much, Keith. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you again to Brandy and the Griesbys, Brooke and Heidi, for being willing to share their story. When I reached out to them and asked if they would be willing to do an interview, they did not hesitate for a second. I think they really want to do everything they can through their story to encourage other folks to explore organ donations and just the opportunity maybe to really change somebody's life in a powerful way, up to and including saving somebody's life. So I think they talked about the Mayo Clinic. You can go research the Mayo Clinic if you have any interest in being an organ donor, and there's lots of resources online. Just Google organ donor, and that will point you in the direction of a lot of different resources to help you consider maybe the possibility of you entering somebody's life the way Brandy did. So again, thank you all. What a great and inspiring story. And again, it just really displays the heart of this running community. I've been floored in the 4 years that I have been running far more by the running community spirit itself than some of the running accomplishments that I have seen. And I've seen a bunch of them. I've seen some people do some really remarkable things. But the most surprising piece of this journey has been the love and care and support that the running community has for one another and people outside of the running community. They really do come step to bat when they need to and when somebody needs them, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be a part, and really that keeps me motivated probably far more than some of the races that I belong to. Next week, the next episode, I interviewed Jody Stoner, several months ago, and Jody was preparing to go to the Boston Marathon to run for her little buddy, River. And if you followed that podcast and followed Jody after that, she's got this little man that she cares an awful lot about, River, and she just devotes a lot of her running life to looking out for him and supporting him. And this week, that journey of hers is taking her to the Boston Marathon. So I look forward to interviewing Jody later this week to talk about that Boston Marathon experience, what it meant to her, what kind of race she had. I know it's a big deal for her. She's really been looking forward to it and building it up, and I appreciate that she's going to be willing to come on and share that experience with us. Good luck to all of those out there tackling the Boston Marathon this weekend. I can remember many, many years ago, before I got involved in this running journey myself, that the Boston Marathon meant nothing on my radar. It would come and go, and I'd have no idea who ran, who won, how far they ran, where they ran. I guess the Boston should have gave it away. I just had no interest in it. And last year I interviewed my buddy Bruce Hayes, who ran, and found myself watching his little dot move across the electronic map on my computer screen at work. I hope my boss isn't listening. But I watched him run that entire race and just had goosebumps, and that told me a little bit about kind of where I'd come in my own running journey, to be able to watch an electronic dot run 26 miles across Boston and kind of be moved by it as if I was there and actually watching a real runner. So, the Boston Marathon's something I'm far more in tune with now, and sense and feel the special race that it is. So I look forward to following that tomorrow, and keeping track with some of my running friends who will be out there running, and then, like I said, later this week interviewing Jody Stoner. So thank you all for being here today, listening, being a part of the show. I hope you get out there this week and get some good running in if you're going to run. If not, then get out there and maybe cheer somebody on. And if you're listening here and you just running is not your thing, then keep coming back. Maybe it will become your thing. And if not, I'm just glad to have you listening in, because these stories, like I said today, and many times, they go much deeper than the actual running itself. It gets to the heart of people more than hearts of runners, just trying to spread some light to the darker places of the world. And I think runners just happen to do that really, really well. And it's fun to showcase that here. Y'all have a great week.